Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to talk about completely transforming your backyard space. For the longest time, the backyard shed was just an afterthought. But honestly, not anymore. We're diving right into why the Skillion roof shed is literally taking over and how it can turn your outdoor area into this incredibly functional, beautiful extension of your home. Let's get into it. So to really understand the solution here, we've got to look at the problem first. Why are homeowners everywhere just ditching those traditional backyard sheds? I mean, think about it. Picture that old, rusty tin shed sitting way back in the corner of the yard. It's probably crammed full of half-empty paint tins, a broken whippersnipper, and, well, more spiderwebs than you can even count. It's an absolute eyesore. And more importantly, it just doesn't fit what we need today. People are working from home, kids have new hobbies, and absolutely no one wants to look out from their gorgeous deck at a complete backyard blunder. We really need spaces that work for us, right? Not against us. Here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the modern Sydney backyard, then meet the Skillion roof, followed by the Colorbond Advantage, a quick look at Skillion versus flat roofs, and finally, preventing and fixing leaks. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the modern Sydney backyard. Move in right along to Section 2, meet the Skillion roof. Now here's a fun little quirk. If you're submitting council plans or checking out engineering drawings, you're almost certainly going to see the word monopitch. But if you actually talk to any builder or shed supplier around Sydney, they'll just call it a skillion. Just so we're clear, it's the exact same thing. It features one high wall, one low wall, and one single continuous slope. That means there's absolutely no central ridge cap to stress over and zero valleys where leaves and junk can pile up. So you might be wondering, why does that single slope actually matter so much? Well, it's simple. Gravity. Gravity is your absolute primary line of defense against pooling water. And look, we all know Sydney storms do not mess around. When the sky suddenly just completely opens up over the northern beaches, or you get smashed by one of those massive Sutherland Shire storms, that water needs to clear the roof, immediately. Because the Skillion roof has that one deliberate slope, it takes all of that heavy rain and channels it in a single direction, straight into the gutter and right down the downpipe. It literally doesn't even give the water a chance to sit there and find a sneaky way inside.
And here is a massive advantage of this specific design. And it really comes down to just one single number, 4, as in a 4-kilowatt solar system. Look, energy bills are what they are these days, so everyone is trying to slap solar panels wherever they possibly can, right? Well, the Skillion roof gives you this one beautiful, flat, uninterrupted plane. If you face that slope north, you don't have to awkwardly work around ridges or deal with weird angles throwing shadows everywhere. You can easily fit a 4-kilowatt solar system right up there. To put that into perspective, that's enough juice to run lights, power tools, or even a whole split-system AC unit in your backyard office. Your shed is literally paying for itself at that point.
Let's rapidly run through the top 3 reasons this design is just so incredibly popular right now. First up, aesthetics. The clean, asymmetrical lines just look intentional, They perfectly match those sleek contemporary extensions in the inner west or the modern new builds out in the Hills District. Second, usable volume. Because of that high wall side, you get this amazing vertical space. You can actually stand up straight, store your longboards or tools vertically, or even squeeze in a little mezzanine for all your camping gear. And third, it's significantly cheaper and faster to build. Because you're skipping all the complex trusses and ridge caps, there's way less labor. In fact, a standard backyard setup usually wraps up in just 1 or 2 days. All right, let's jump to Section 3, the Colorbond Advantage. Now, you might hear that Colorbond lasts 30 to 40 years and think, no way. But it actually does, because it's not just painted steel. It's this heavily engineered 5-layer system. It starts with a super strong steel base, then adds a metallic coating for corrosion resistance, a pre-treatment layer, a primer, and finally, a tough, baked-on top coat. This whole setup stops it from chipping like your standard paint would. And if you live anywhere near the water, we're talking Cronulla, Manly, or up on the Central Coast, you know for a fact that salt air just eats lesser roofing alive. But this 5-layer system, particularly the Colorbond Ultra for those coastal spots, absolutely fights off that salt air and the harsh UV rays, so you're not out there repainting the thing every few years. Another huge perk here is the thermal efficiency. Colorbond uses this really clever thermotech technology. Basically, it reflects that brutal summer heat, keeping the inside of the shed way cooler and stopping it from radiating heat right back at your house. And in the winter, it actually helps hold the warmth in. Plus, it comes in over 20 standard colors, so you can perfectly match your house trim, your fence, or your garage door with super modern shades like Monument, Woodland Gray, or Surf Mist. It just makes the whole backyard look professionally planned instead of, just cobbled together. Which brings us to Section 4, Skillion versus flat roofs. Let's compare the two. Here's the honest truth. A flat roof relies on perfect engineering. It absolutely needs perfectly level construction and these really carefully designed falls to hidden drains. If you have just one slight dip or just one little blocked outlet, boom, you suddenly have a pond sitting right on top of your roof. And because there's no obvious slope, flat roofs are notorious for trapping leaves and debris. Plus, inside, you're stuck with the same cramped headroom everywhere. But the Skillion roof, it avoids all of that headache just by its design. It relies entirely on gravity. It clears itself. Water and leaves just naturally slide down in one obvious direction. And like we talked about earlier, you get that fantastic, usable headroom on the high side. It's just a way more forgiving setup. Now, let's talk numbers. Depending on variables like the size of your yard, the exact dimensions, and the colors you go with, a brand new Skillion shed is going to run you somewhere between $8,000 and $20,000. Now, I know some folks ask, hey, can I just convert my old leaky flat roof into a Skillion? And honestly, it's usually a much smarter investment to just rip off the Band-Aid and replace the whole shed, especially if it's over 10 years old. Trying to constantly patch up a flawed flat roof is a nightmare, and converting it usually means you have to rebuild the entire roof structure and walls anyway. Just start fresh. All right, our final stop is Section 5, Preventing and Fixing Leaks. Let's get one thing straight. You can't just slap silicone on a leak and call it a day. Let's walk through some real fixes. First up, the wrong roof profile. If someone put standard corrugated iron on a low-pitch roof, heavy rain is just going to fill those valleys and spill right into your roof cavity. You absolutely have to use deeper profiles that are specifically engineered for low pitches, like trim deck or clip lock. Next, perished washers. After about 10 to 15 years, the little rubber washers on your roofing screws get hard and crack. Once that happens, they're basically an open funnel for rainwater. The fix? Completely replace the screws and washers and prime any bare steel while you're at it. Third issue, blocked gutters. Look, gum trees and jacarandas are constantly dropping leaves. If those gutters block up, water can actually wick right up into your wall seams. Make sure to clean them out like 4 times a year, and seriously, invest in some gutter guards. Finally, sagging sheets. If your horizontal roof supports, those are called purlins, are undersized, the roof is going to sag and create a little pond. That's a structural issue. You really need to get a builder out to check the spacing and probably add some midspan support. Seriously, whatever you do, don't ignore that one. Just to really hammer home our most important takeaway today, the primary line of defense in a Skillion roof is gravity. It's more tolerant and more easy to take care of. At the end of the day, a properly built, beautifully designed Skillion shed is just a lasting practical response to our wild weather, our rising energy costs, and the simple fact that we actually want to use our backyards now. It really is all about working smarter, not harder. Which brings us to the end of this explainer. But I want to leave you with a question to mull over. Is your current backyard setup really working for you, or is it finally time for an upgrade? Just imagine what you could actually do with that extra space, that awesome usable headroom, and that solar capability. Transforming your outdoor space is entirely within reach, as long as you choose the right design and the right materials. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope you feel completely empowered to go out and look at your backyard in a whole new light.